The evidence items in Phasmophobia are imperative in finding the ghost type. However, they can also be somewhat confusing to use. And then to go along with that, there's a lot of common mistakes and misconceptions about them. So in this video, I'm going to be going over 5 common misconceptions and mistakes that new players make with evidence in hopes that you don't make these same mistakes that I made. The first mistake is not really knowing what ghost orbs look like and possibly confusing them with snow. Now, they can be hard to spot when you don't really know what you're looking for. I know I fell into the trap of thinking they would be these big orbs that would be easily recognizable, but in fact they're just these like little small balls that float around. So when you're looking for ghost orbs on the map, you want to make sure that the lights are off in the room that you're looking for, as that's going to make it much easier to spot. Sometimes snow can clip through the map and they can be easily confused for ghost orbs, but what you're looking for is that snow falls straight down while the orbs sort of float around on the screen. If you happen to get into the unfortunate event where you're playing the campsite, it's snowing outside, and you have a ghost orb ghost, you just want to make sure that you're looking for the floatiness of those orbs and hope that you can spot it through the snow. The second mistake is going to be thinking that the EMF reader is going to show you where the ghost is. I fell into this trap when I first started because I knew that EMF reader was one of the best starting items in finding where the ghost room was. And so I would walk around the house with the EMF reader on, and then whenever I got a reading, I was like, oh hey, there's the ghost, which is not necessarily true. Because what the EMF reader actually does is it gauges off of the interaction that the ghost has. For instance, if a ghost throws an object or knocks a painting off of a wall, it's always going to give an EMF 3 reading. If a ghost event happens, then where it started at will give off an EMF 4 reading, and then all other interactions that the ghost has will give off an EMF 2 reading. So just because you do get an EMF reading, it does not necessarily mean that that is the ghost room. It's just what the ghost interacted with. And it's also good to note that if you do have an EMF reading off of an object, you can take a picture of that and have it count as an interaction photo and make some extra money. So if the ghost is an EMF 5 ghost, any of the EMF 2 or the EMF 3 readings will have a chance to be an EMF 5 reading. The third mistake is going to be confusing an airball or mist ghost event with freezing breath. I'm pretty sure everybody who's played this game has been guilty of this at some point, but hopefully you will not fall into that same trap. Every ghost except the Oni has a possibility of doing the ghost event where you'll see like a little ball of mist coming towards you and then the ghost breathing in your ear. This is an example of that.
Uh-oh.
So you can see how that ghost event looks a lot like freezing breath. So if you do happen to see that come towards you and then you hear the ghost breathe in your ear and you think you may have freezing, just verify that you can still see your breath after that. The next mistake is going to be trying to get a spirit box response with multiple people nearby or the lights on in the room. Now, don't get me wrong, it is still possible to get a spirit box response with multiple people in the room. You will know if that's the case because on the bulletin board, it will tell you that the ghost responds to everyone, but on higher difficulties, it may not say anything in response to we're unsure. Also, you may miss that the board states that the ghost only responds to people who are alone. I prefer just to play it safe. If I'm going to try to get a spirit box response, I'm going to make sure other people are out of the room, or if I hear somebody trying to get a spirit box response, I'll make sure that I do not go near the ghost room. To go along with that, you also want to make sure that the lights are off in the room. It can be easy to forget sometimes, especially if you turned it off to try to look for other things in the room or try to preserve sanity. But if you are trying to talk to it with the spirit box, make sure that the lights are off. And now for the most common mistake that I see people make, and that is going to be not knowing how to use a dots projector and not knowing what to look for with the dots. This was a big struggle for me early on when dots were released. I had no idea what to look for. So what you want to do with the dots projector is you want to make sure that you place it in the ground in the ghost room. When dots were released, the devs said that the dots projectors were meant to be placed on the ground, and that is where they recommended that everybody place it. So I just always place it on the ground rather than on top of other objects or on the wall. Now you can still get the dots projector to go off on the wall, but again, I just prefer to place it on the ground. Now what helped me identify dots a lot was to identify it in the truck first. So what I would do after I placed the dots projector on the ground, I would set up a video camera and then I would go into the truck to look for the dots. Over time, as I played more and more games, I got better at identifying the dots in person, and I am much better at doing that now than I was when dots first came out. I always relied on going to the truck to look for it because it was a lot easier. So if you are finding that you're having a hard time getting the dots evidence, then here's a trick for dots in ghostwriting book. So if you place the dots in the ghostwriting book in the ghost room and it's not interacting with it, take everything else out of the room that the ghost has a chance to interact with, so that way it increases the likelihood to interact with dots or a writing book. For instance, in the nursery in Tanglewood, take out all the little blocks, the stuffed animals, and anything else that's in there that the ghost could possibly interact with. Only have the dots and the book in there, so then it's a much higher likelihood the ghost can interact with it, and then you can get that piece of evidence. But now to set up the dots and the ghostwriting book, you do have to know where the ghost room is. So if you are struggling to find the ghost room, click or tap the screen right now to find my top 5 items to use to find where the ghost room is. Like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribed if you loved it, and I'll see you in the next one.